Yeah, so welcome everyone to the recording today, to the webinar. I'd like to introduce Islay Robinson. Now, if you don't know Islay, he is one of the founders of Enness Global, who are a high net worth and ultra high net worth brokerage. I'm just going to chop a couple of stats at you now, just to make you aware of kind of, in regards to high net worth, what we're talking about. So their average property value is 7.4 million, average mortgage value is about 3.6. And their client net worth is around 12 million as an average. So when we're talking about ultra high net worth and high net worth clients, you know, these guys really do work with those guys, and they work with, they deal with finance in about 20 different countries. So yeah, ultra high net worth is really the crux of their business. So welcome, Islay.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. So if I could just start, if you could tell me about the Enness journey, really. So how you started and to where you are now, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure, of course. Thanks for this. It's lovely to talk to you. So we, Hugh and I started Enness the day of the run on Northern Rock. For those of you old enough to remember, that was a pretty miserable day for everyone. Not us, because we were having our launch party in a club in Mayfair, and we didn't really know what was going on, but it turned out to be one of the worst times to start a mortgage brokerage. Before that, we were directors at Alexander Hall, which is an awesome UK London-based mortgage brokerage working with Foxtons. During the kind of 3 or 4 years up to us leaving, we did what Alexander Hall does brilliantly, which is arranging lots and lots of mortgages for mass market people in London. They were using a controlled panel of lenders, because that's all they needed for the type of mortgages that they were doing. Hugh and I specialised in the more unusual transactions, so the commercial finance development, mortgages for international people or high net worth people coming into the UK, trust structures and company structures, and all those harder bits of the market that don't fit into the normal box. Then we figured, look, we should probably just go and do this on our own. So we set up on that lovely day, had a hangover the next day, and then very, very quickly, the whole lending market disappeared. So we were a mortgage broker where there was no mortgages to sell anywhere in the world, right? So pretty difficult at that point. But that really forced us to make the decisions that led Enness to be what it is today. And gave us lots of experience to try and learn other things. And we also didn't have the legacy that a lot of the other brokers had at that point, of big leases and lots of staff and everything. So we were much more nimble and able to kind of do things. So that was the start. The thing that we did at the beginning was there were no mortgage lenders anywhere. So we did 2 things. One, we scoured the internet, the world, networks, everything, to find anyone that would lend any money, which was the first bit. And secondly, we decided that we were going to charge people a fee for helping them arrange their mortgage. And I know lots of mortgage brokers gasp for this idea of a fee, but we figured if there was banks that were going to lend money but not pay us a commission, we wanted to be able to take those customers into those banks, solve the solution, and get paid for it. And that kind of set us up at that first instance. So we had more lenders growing all the time, and we were able to charge people fees for the advice that we were giving. Yeah, is that a good enough start for you?
Yeah, absolutely, that makes sense. So your niche, you were already kind of in that niche within Alexander Hall then, in regards to the high net worth side of things. So that was a conscious decision for you as you came out, or was it literally that Northern Rock thing that made that decision?
Yeah, the decision was, so the Alexander Hall business and lots of the other businesses that are like that are fantastic. You know, they've got a huge lead flow, they've got lots of talented brokers, and the customers are buying something which is, it's not straightforward, but it's, you know, it's not particularly complicated. What's the best price and how do I get the mortgage arranged in time? That's the kind of 2 dimensions. We saw that there was a need for someone to solve the more complicated bit. So that's what we did at Alexander Hall, and that's really what set up the business. Yeah. And for the more complicated pieces of work, you can charge more fees, and you can differentiate yourself, and you can get involved in different parts of the customer's financial circumstances, and that's where we built from. So I guess it was an intentional thing.
Yeah. Okay. So if you were a broker at the moment, or if we have brokers there at the moment who are looking to find their niche, is there anything that you can, any advice? Because not everyone's going to be fit in the high net worth world, not everyone's going to fit in different niches, you know, but I would suggest that everyone needs one. So is there any kind of recommendations you can give to perhaps newer brokers or newer business owners where they haven't found theirs yet?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's finding a niche. I think it's looking at your client bank and looking at what you're good at and really focusing on that bit. So we're now 15 years old and we've got 40, you know, we're not a massive team, we've got 40 people, but we all specialize in our individual bits of the marketplace. And as a result, we cover a huge breadth of the marketplace, from residential to development, commercial, the securities lending stuff that we're doing a lot of, and everything else. But we can only do that because we've got the financial power and the experience and the people to allow us to cover that range. So I don't think we started by going, we are going to fill this niche. We focused on what we were good at. We got as good as that as possible. We gave the correct service to our customers. We monetized it properly. We marketed it correctly. And that then gave us more customers for that sector, which then ended up the niche wrapping around us rather than us trying to find one.
Yeah, that makes sense. So hopefully people will take that on board, actually, how important that is not so much looking for that niche at the beginning, but find out something you can really add value to, really be good at.
If you're great at first-time buyers, that's your thing. And then if you get that lead for a grade 2 listed commercial refurbishment for a foreign national through a limited company, and you start trying to do that, then you're just going to ignore all the customers and waste your time trying to do something that you don't have necessarily the experience now to do. So it's that risk reward of, do I follow every lead, or do I just focus on the ones that are most important to the business? So for us, we collect, you know, it's about 6,000 new customers this year, of which we turned into 2,500 actual sales opportunities. That 2,600 that we let go were pieces of business that we didn't think that we could add value in. So that is things like, you know, first-time buyers, overseas people buying property outside of our locations that we specialize in, you know, remortgages where it's straightforward, people don't need to use us. So we could do those bits of business, but we don't return the margins that we want to. So we just focus on what we're good at.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you, out of interest, do you still find it hard to turn down business? Because I'm a niche in a niche, like you said. All I do is mortgage brokers, and it breaks my heart when I have to turn down people. But I do appreciate that, you know, you have to stick to what you're good at. And
we've got, yeah. So in terms of our fee, so we started back in 2007, and we were charging £1,000. That was our initial fee. Then we took it up to 0.35, then we took it to 0.5, 0.7, and currently we charge 1% as a minimum to every customer. So the thing that's difficult for us is when, you know, a large mortgage, for example, comes to us. Let's say it's £1 million or £500,000, it's all relative, and the guy is so straightforward and it just goes to Santander or Halifax. Now, we could do that piece of business and not charge a fee, but then we would be taking our resource away from the stuff where we make the money. So it's hard for us to turn that business down, but it's the right decision, because otherwise we'd be using our resources on the things that don't maximize our revenue. And that's the point of the business.
That's brilliant. That hopefully, like I said, hopefully people take that on board, because that is super important. So obviously that's the niche. We've gone through that sort of things. If I could kind of flip it onto social media, because I love what you guys do on social media, and I know there's brokers on here that are really up in the air about. I know yours points at a niche, so yours is very well polished, because you have a certain client, so it makes sense. But how do you think social media has kind of affected how you do business and brokers as a whole? How it's come about? You know, how you kind of direct it.
look, the reason we do it, well, there's a number of reasons that we do it, but to sell someone something, they have to trust you and they have to like you. Okay, so the example I used to use of if you walked into I don't know, Boots, and you really wanted some shaving cream. Well, maybe not you, maybe for your head. Maybe
Yeah, my head.
the way you use it. So let's say you walk into Boots and you really want some shaving cream, and the person selling it to you is an idiot. They wind you up, they're rude to you. You will leave that shop and not buy the thing you want because that guy's an idiot. But when you walk into a shop and there's someone that's great and you trust and you like, you will buy more stuff off of them because that's just the way it works. So one of the things that we use social media for is reinforcing our message and reinforcing our brand and putting out the things that we like to be known for and the things that we've done to build trust, because it's difficult now to find any professional that you can be certain at the beginning aren't going to muck you around. So social media is a big part for trust. And it's also for, you know, being the people that your customer thinks of when they think about the product. Now, like you with shaving cream, you probably buy it every week or something, or whatever. But a mortgage,
I don't buy a lot of shaving cream.
but with a mortgage, like the typical life cycle of a mortgage is 2 years, which means your customer is only looking for a mortgage once every 2 years. So in that bit in the middle, we need to be present, remind, add insight and value so that when they want a mortgage, they come to you and not go to the internet or to their mate or anything. So those are the things that we use social media for. And we were using LinkedIn when there was like 17 people on LinkedIn and it was just no good. And we've kind of stayed with it now. And it's now a huge part of our marketing mix. But there's not.
Sorry to jump in. Would you say it's as important for you guys being the level of your customer as it is for Joe Blogs Remortgage? You know, is it still relevant to?
Yeah, I think people hang out on LinkedIn. Business people hang out on LinkedIn. Professionals hang out on LinkedIn. It's one of those things you just check, and we use it for introductions. So from the law firms and the trust companies and the family offices and everything, that's one way of getting in front of these people. Also, you know, business owners and property developers and everyone's on there. So that's the reason. I think it's the most important, and it's not complicated, right? All you've got to do is put something on it. Try not to swear, be racist, say any horrible things like that, and just be authentic and say interesting, useful things. Stick a picture on it, and then people just respond to it, and that's as simple as it. There's no dark art behind it.
I'd like to think it's slightly more complicated than that because I do mine on LinkedIn, but yeah. Just stick something on there, put a picture on it.
Well, that's where you start, and then you start. You know, you can get to things like this, which is, I'm sure this is going to be a great thing for you, or you can, you know, infographics or articles and everything. But to start, you just need to find a voice and find some people that are going to listen to you.
Yeah. So, any advice for brokers that are looking to take the next step into being a business owner? So obviously you did that from that. You must have been quite comfortable with Alexander Hall. I'm assuming when you took that step. Any advice for those guys that are looking to kind of take the plunge? I know there's lots of them, and it's nerve-wracking at the beginning, especially if you haven't got that customer base and that kind of thing. So
yeah, I think. Obviously I did it, and it's been hugely successful, and it's built a lifestyle and everything for Hugh and I, which we're very grateful for. It's got to be done for the right reasons, and you've got to understand the other side of it. Okay, so look, we're now 15 years in, and the brand's flying, and we've got all these wonderful numbers and all these customers. We're doing all these great deals, but it hasn't been like that all the way through. There's been some real difficult bits. There's been some real challenging bits. There's been frustrations and everything else. So, look, if you're a broker and you're getting some leads and you're getting a cut of those leads, and you've got an administrator and you're kind of left to your own devices and you're making enough money, that's all right. Okay, there's nothing wrong with
nothing wrong with
that. When you set up your business, you get other stuff. You get the FCA, and you get accountants, and you get lawyers, and you have to do shareholders agreements, and you have to write your own terms of business, and you have to mess around with the networks, and then you hire some staff, and like you hire someone and they might be a bit weird, or they might think you're a bit weird, so it gets a bit scary. So all of a sudden you're doing lots of things that aren't actually down to writing business. So if you're a kind of deal maker, you've got a good commission package, you like the guys you're working for, that might be the right place for you. But just, I guess I don't discourage it, because it's been awesome for us, but there's lots more to think about. It's not just set up the company, do some LinkedIn work, get some leads, earn some money.
That's brilliant as well, because you know a lot of people are going to look at that. Most people must look at your business and go, I want that. But actually, like you say, you've been doing it 15 years, and you know, starting off in a recession and that kind of thing, it's great that you're realistic about you know, what it actually takes to be successful.
At the beginning, we didn't have very much money, right? So because we started it on a shoestring, because we couldn't borrow any money during that period, and there were times where we had to get our company credit card and put it into our company credit card machine and take cash off the credit card into the company to pay payroll. All right, so it's not, you know, straight in. It's a big success. There's some very difficult periods, and you've got to go through those, and it's not a short fix thing. You know, how long does it take to make some money off of writing a mortgage? You've got to find the customer, sell it to them, get it through the process, get it to complete. 3 or 4 months before you get your first pound. Then you've got to build up that pipeline. So you're going to need some resource to get you through the first year as well. So I recommend it to everyone, but it's not as straightforward as some people suggest it is.
That's really good advice, actually, because like I said, it is so easy to look at all of the success stories on LinkedIn and people that know you and think it's really easy, but it's not. That's great. It's great to know. So if you were starting out today, obviously with everything that's changed, actually I'd like to talk about that first. With everything that's changed recently, only because I saw something this morning from yourself that sparked my interest in it, about how business has changed during the pandemic and how it's changed for you. Could you start with that, actually?
We had, before the pandemic, we had a rigid, you have to get into the office and do your work style mentality, and I think that was typical of a lot of businesses, and that kind of, in the office, that mentality, that level of control was how the business was set up. And the pandemic came, and obviously it was dreadful, and it's been horrific for lots of businesses and lots of people. But for us, it became a kind of epiphany, a kind of euphoria moment of, we don't have to do it that way anymore. And we need our younger staff, our less experienced staff, and some kind of core parts of the business in the office. But that doesn't mean that as we didn't have that control over everyone, we didn't need that control over everyone. Everyone relished in the freedom, the responsibility, the openness to kind of go. So that's kind of where it is. And our business is, we've got 6 companies in 6 countries, and you know, people all over the world now. So that in the office thing doesn't quite work for us anymore. So that was one of the biggest changes. But even for me now, I don't really work anywhere. I kind of hang around with my mobile phone and my iPad and a pad, and so that kind of flexible and freedom, that's one of the biggest changes. Yeah, and even our customers.
Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, even our customers aren't fixed in a location anymore, and they don't wear suits and ties anymore. They are in MXs, in the coffee shop at the end of the road, and that type of thing. So it has been a real change.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think you kind of touched on it then, just in regards to having newer, younger staff, because I love the new flexibility that it gives customers. I also think it's really good from a recruitment perspective that your candidate pool is much wider, because it's not about who can get into your office from 8 till 8. You know, it's about who can do the work. But I also think, and I don't know your opinion on it, although you could say mention then, new staff into the industry, new brokers get better because they're surrounded by good brokers.
You have to. Yeah, you have to. The pool of people that came out of Alexander Hall around the same time as Hugh and I did, we were in a building with 40 or 50 mortgage brokers and loads of leads, and we learn off of each other. We learn sales approaches, we learn how to talk to customers, how to engage with lenders, how to solve problems, how to, how to get yourself out of problems that you made because you didn't really know what you were doing, and all of those types of things. And you can't get that at home in your bedroom on Zoom. It's impossible. So if you start off your career and think that you're going to be able to do it that way, you'll sell some mortgages, but you won't get that rounded experience which you need to be able to get.
I think it's getting better. It's getting people to improve. I don't know how you can, like you say, sit at home. But it's interesting because I'm speaking to more and more people who just assume that is the way forward, and kind of educating people on getting, I just kind of educating people on how you're going to get better. Because
if you're a mortgage broker like that, look, anyone can do a fact find, put the information into Mortgage Brain or TriGoal, find the cheapest 2-year fixed rate, and tell the customer that's the cheapest rate. Okay, so if you want to do that, you're no different to anyone else. You've got nothing else to offer other than finding.
You're not charging fees, are you?
You're not charging fees. And then you're at risk of all these scary robo brokers that are running around the place terrorizing mortgage brokers that do that. But you need to be able to, solve problems and bring up ideas and bend criteria a bit and those type of things. That's the stuff that you need to know to be a top mortgage broker.
Do you feel like, without putting words into your mouth, because you just touched on it, but the robo broker side of things, is that why they can't take over the industry? Because people like yourselves who understand more than you can get from an algorithm.
I think the algorithm, in theory, the algorithm approach to mortgage broking works, because if you think about the transaction, you've got 20 criteria points and you've got 50 questions, and then the lender's credit criteria is quite standard, so that should be able to join up. Now, I don't know about you, but whenever someone gives me a form to fill in, I fill in the form based on how I want the form to react to give me the outcome that I want. Right? So, and then if you're asking, a first-time buyer or an overseas guy that's buying in the UK for the first time, if the property's got a thatched roof, or whether it's, a clad building, or to put your actual expenses in properly and not miss anything off, the data isn't going to be clean enough to go in, which means the decisions aren't going to be clean enough to go out. But proper mortgage broking for me isn't that matching of criteria. It's advising the customer and guiding them and pushing the lender to get the best possible outcome, not just accepting what the lender gives back. And I think some of those online brokers, they're phenomenal businesses and they've raised a huge amount of money. And I think someone said to me that a lot of the people that want to experience that robo broking thing are a certain type of person that wants to be the first to do it or doesn't want to interact. But I think a lot of people just want to deal with a dude in the coffee shop on the phone.
Do you know what I also feel about those is that your robot's not ever going to pick up the phone to an underwriter and just give them some logical reasoning that an underwriter can then look at and go, do you know what, you're right. You lose that part. And I also feel that's the same about Feefree broking. These got, these ones who want 2,000 advisors to sit at home and churn through deals. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of unhappy customers that assume they can't get a mortgage because they're not going to be asked to do it. And no offense to them, but they're not paid to do it. They're not paid on those metrics. So
I agree.
It's an interesting time. There's a couple of, well, we all know there's some big guys out there that are churning through those, but I think, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
There's a place in the market for them. There's a place in the market for, straightforward remortgages and product transfers and 3 times income. And there's a place in the market for that type of business. But it's very hard to make money in that part of the business. You need £1 billion marketing campaign, and you need so that's for them. For kind of other businesses, you need to do it in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really conscious of your time, so I'm just going to try and get through as much as I possibly can. I know we've only got a couple of minutes, but if you were starting out today,
I've got a bit more time if you want. This is
okay.
Yeah.
Good. Was that just a half an hour, just in case I talk nonsense and you were going to go?
Yeah, always. It's like when you interview someone told me at the beginning of my career, the first thing to say to someone in a new interview is, "I've only got 5 minutes." Like, that's nothing to do with you. That's just how my diet is.
Yeah.
You've got an 8. So then if it goes longer,
Good. Right. So if you were starting out today, then, so again, a lot of people that watch these are young brokers who are interested, especially interested in your businesses. If you were starting out today, is there anything you would do differently now you know what you know? I mean, it's different. I know it's a different time. We're not going to go through the rate rises and the nonsense you went through in 2008, but anything you can think of that would have sped up the process?
Yeah, I think we would have spent. It's just down to collecting customers and building a relationship with the customers, doing the right thing, and trying to progressively help them. That's the bottom bit of everything. And we tried lots of other things. We've tried a lot of things that haven't worked, but it comes down to collecting the right customers for you and doing it properly and being responsive and proactive and engaging to deliver that result. And if you do that, that person will come back to you and they'll refer their mates to you. That's it. And then build a proper website that properly explains what you do. Don't just get one off the shelf and fill it with, "We do mortgages," because that's it. You've got to really engage and build something that's memorable. And then build out your marketing story as well. Marketing's a huge part of our success. And it's something that needs to be invested in and done over a long term. You don't just do marketing in February. You have to do it every day, all the time. And it's that stuff that comes together. Then the rest takes care of it.
The consistency in marketing, isn't it? You can't just chuck something and hope it works and then go on to the next thing. So I'm assuming you have done in 15 years an incredible amount of stuff that hasn't worked then, marketing wise, and just
we tried stuff. And look, we had, our website's phenomenal and it's 15 years worth of work and it rains millionaires and billionaires. There's one example of a very, very well-known property developer sat at the pool at the Burj Al Arab in Dubai, and he had a problem and he searched for it on Google, found us, came to our website, came through our chatbot, turned into £100,000 fee, because that's the type of things that we do. And that was just marketing.
So just from your website, but like you said, your website isn't day one website, is it? It's
an evolution. We've done things where we've changed the website and all of a sudden our leads have just gone poof, and then we panic. So it's fine tuning and stuff like that. So a couple of years ago, we tried to build different brands for loads of different parts of the market. So Enness commercial and everything like that. And in theory, it was correct, but it was too big a project. And then we didn't get the returns off of it. So we made the decision to pull the plug on that and go back to our knitting. But we had to try it to learn from it.
And it's good that you try, it doesn't work, and just keep trying to hammer it. If it doesn't work, you move on. So in regards to the kind of the plateaus that you've overcome in those 15 years, what would you say, because there's going to be brokers listening that aren't new, but just have kind of hit those plateaus, and how you overcome them, or what stages do you think they are in the business that you've had to overcome?
Well, in the business, there's, having enough cash to pay payroll at the end of the month. That's part one, and I'm sure you remember bits like that in your business. There's knowing that your pipeline's big enough so that if some of it falls away, which it does, you're going to survive. Then there's enough lead flow. Then there's your returning business. So there's lots of phases like that. But in our business, it's when you wake up in January, you got to start again. You got to sell mortgages again. there's the mirage of general insurance recurring income that's going to take care of all your troubles. But for mortgage brokers, you've got to keep selling. And like you as well, Marcus. If you don't get any money next year, you don't get any money.
If I take a month off, I'm done. That's all right. There's no assets under management in our business.
How's the flower arranging working out?
Loving it, yeah, well, it's all right. It's going off during Christmas. I'm going to really finish that off and make it look nice. How's my 6-year-old birthday party, really, if anyone's wondering? Yes, but do you know what? That's been really useful. There are a couple of questions on here, but I think they are not relevant to you. They're geared towards me. They're about mentoring, support, and that kind of thing. But I suppose we can touch on it. People have asked if they're new to the industry. I know your guys are experienced. I don't think you can chuck anyone in at the high net worth deep end, because it is a deep end in regards to complexity. But in regards to mentoring support in the industry, where do you think people are best placed to go to?
I don't know, really. I think there's no harm in just asking some questions on LinkedIn and tagging some mortgage brokers, and it's quite a kind of collaborative community in the whole. I think people will just answer questions about that type of thing. But the best place to start is one of those big mortgage shops like Alexander Hall or some of these other ones, and learn it there, because that's where you're probably going to accelerate your learning. So I think
it's funny, actually. Speaking to some new recruits this morning, and they were saying the same thing. Whether they want to kind of jump straight into self-employed, they want to do that, and make their money, and there is something to be said for actually earning your stripes. Go and work for someone big. Go and get your training under your belt, rather than kind of bash it out. But because we're in this different market now of everyone wanting to earn quickly, work from home, be self-sufficient really quick, do the hours I want to do, walk my dog when I want, which is fantastic when you're up and running. But there's something to be said for actually getting some good training under your belt. Like how long are you at Oxford?
I don't know how you do it quickly, because unless you've got deep experience to be able to do the big, complicated, scary transactions, which take months and months of work to get over the line, no one's going to call up a new starter, and they're not going to get 15 leads of £300,000 cases that all complete a month later. I think it's a process. There's no shortcuts to it. You've got to put the hours in.
Yeah, brilliant. That's really helpful, actually, Isla. Yeah, that's really good. I'm going to finish it there. But if anyone has got any other questions for Isla, pass them on to me. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer any more questions as and when. But that's been really useful. Hope it's been useful for everyone else. And yeah, like I said, anyone have any questions, just let me know. Thanks, Isla.
Thanks, Marcus. Bye.